What's happening, watch dudes? Peter Von Panda here. Hey, got a watch here that I want to show you. It's a watch that's on loan to me, and it's from the personal collection of Aaron Dunlop at OFD channel. It's also going out to Scott Watches Galore after this, so check both their channels out for a little bit deeper dive into this watch. I wanted to show it to you because the last time and the only time that I've done a live stream, the Vostok brand came up a number of times. And so I have actually ordered myself a Vostok, and it's not here yet, but I wanted to show you this one because they're kind of an interesting brand. I believe Russian. Vostok Europe is kind of a new version of it. It doesn't really carry much of the history of it other than the name, but the original Vostoks are really interesting because of their history and construction, which is unique and highly durable, but then also basically the price point. So as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Vostok brand was a watch company that was started in or is native to Russia, and they were tasked with building military grade watches for the members of the military. And one of the issues was that they didn't have the precision machining capability that Swiss watchmakers had. Now, that's kind of funny to me because I feel like the machining required to build any watch is pretty precise, but apparently there's kind of some different levels of machining capability. And what they did was they kind of solved some of the engineering challenges that other watch companies have with a unique solution. So first of all, this Vostok, this is the Amphibian. This is kind of their, I don't know, maybe the flagship type. This is really the watch that a lot of people are looking for. I actually ordered an Amphibian. This one's the Scuba dude. It's not a huge watch. Let me just kind of show that to you. First of all, is in that a lot of these classic watches are not huge. But the case edge to edge is only about 39 millimeters. Case to crown is about 44 millimeters, and the thickness is about 15 millimeters. Now that's where it gets kind of interesting because a lot of the thickness of the watch is in the crystal here, which I believe is a mineral crystal, which you wouldn't necessarily expect on a diving watch or a watch that has to have a very high rating for depth, 200 meters. But there's an interesting story about that. So what I can tell you is here you have a polished bezel, red marking off 20 minutes here. That would be for diving. It is a rotating bezel, but it is bi-directional. And it slides, but it has some decent resistance. So I don't worry about it rocking out of place or causing my life harm. Now, the crystal. One of the issues on a dive watch is that, under pressure, the crystal kind of gets smashed in place. You have to have really tight seal. And one of the ways they solved kind of the leakage problem on the crystal is by creating this really domed crystal. And so as it gets squished, it gets pressed out against an O-ring underneath the bezel here and kind of increases the water resistance. So having this kind of bulbous crystal here is actually part of its unique design. So that's kind of one challenge solved on this side. Now on the back side is where they have come up with kind of a two-piece backing. And I won't take this apart because it's not my watch, but when mine comes, we will tear it apart a little bit. But one of the things is about a screw-down back is that it has to be very precise, but then you have an O-ring there, a little round O-ring, one that's getting compressed, but it's also getting sheared as you twist the back case on. So what you want to do is have it oiled so that you're not shearing it too much, but it kind of creates a problem of that you need a very kind of narrow channel, a very well-made O-ring. They didn't necessarily have that, and so what they have is kind of this drop-in back piece right here, and then they have this screw-down collar, which has the notches here, which you would use a watch removal tool to unscrew. So the back presses onto a rubber gasket, but it's just under compression. It's not being sheared because this back piece doesn't rotate. I mean, it just drops in place, and then this collar here screws the case down. So it's really an ingenious way of solving the problem of maybe not having as precise a machining capability, and also solving the problem of shearing a gasket. Now, the other thing that I've heard of, and they also use these automatic movements. I believe Russian made automatic movements, and I bring that up here because they seem to be pretty precise. So it looks like it's running pretty well here. You have this crown here, and like I said, it's a screw down crown. And now, what the Vostoks are known for, in my experience, is that the crowns are really wobbly. So, maybe a little hard to see here, but I can already tell you that this cap is like, super loose. And that's by design, as I understand it. So if I pull it out here, I'm going to be really gentle with this watch. And you can see I can adjust the time, but it's really the cap is almost completely disconnected. I kind of think of it like a plate on the end of a spinning, pole, like the circus jugglers, because it kind of pushes in the crown and then totally disconnects, and it's because of the way the crown connects to the movement. I mean, it was really meant to be, allow for a lot of abuse. And I've even heard if you hit it, kind of, I don't want to abuse this watch, but if the watch is jarred, one thing that can happen is that the second hand stops moving. Now it's still keeping good time, but it's kind of like this built-in forgiveness for impacts and abuse. Now, like I said, that may be the case on this movement. I don't want to beat this one too badly. It already has a little bit of wear, but it's in really nice shape. Now, Aaron, looks like has replaced the band, which you would expect. It has this kind of orange, bright silicone band, and with the quick release spring bars on it. So obviously you can replace the band, and it's really nice. It's kind of color matched to the Scuba dude on the dial. Speaking of which, let's take a quick look at it. It looks pretty modern. I mean, it has a little like pebbling on the dial itself. It's black with an orange Scuba dude, all Russian Cyrillic lettering. Orange painted on markers at the minutes, and painted on Arabic numerals for the hours. Looks like the pips at each hour mark, and then the hands all have bright loom, very diver style hands. You also have a date window there in white background. Now, because of the kind of the massive curving of the dial, you do get a little fish eyeing as you move around, but it's not a problem. I mean, a red second hand with a loomed pip on it as well. So really cool watch. I think just more than anything, it's the history of the watch. Something Russian, something really well made, stands up to the test of time, and has a really interesting, unique construction over a lot of other watches. When I get my Vostok, we'll do more of a physical teardown and maybe beat it up a little bit just to kind of see if we can test some of the features. But, I appreciate Aaron loaning this out to me. Really, really cool. A fairly small watch. Let's go ahead and put this sucker on my wrist and just kind of take a look at it. But I'm intrigued by it, man. It's pretty cool. Like I said, not a huge watch by any measure, but it doesn't look, it actually feels and looks, I think, a little bit bigger than the dimensions suggest. And that's probably because of how thick the crown is. You get nice kind of depth and height to it. And so, as opposed to a watch that's maybe in the 38 millimeter range, that's really thin, like a Skagen or something like that, it doesn't feel like a really slim dress watch. But really, really cool. I dig it. So I'm really excited about checking out mine. I'm glad you guys turned me on to Vostoks. I had never heard of them before. The other thing I will tell you is that to get one of these watches, I don't know how much Aaron paid for his, but I paid about $70 for mine. So the key is, I think, that you get kind of a storied history, you get a unbelievably well made, kind of very durable timepiece, and it's cheap. Relatively speaking. I mean, for basically an in-house automatic movement for $70 is kind of unbelievable. Now, I will say too that during the period of glasnost with Russia, there were actually some kind of co-branded watches, with Vostok. There's actually a Desert Storm version of a Vostok, kind of celebrating America's Desert Storm wars. So it's kind of just interesting that you have a Russian brand. I know we're kind of back to a Cold War period with them, although I think things will thaw. But that you have these symbols of Russia and the U.S. kind of meshed together. So that's kind of interesting one. I've never checked out that Desert Storm one, but certainly it might be kind of collectible and unique to have. So there it is. There's your first look at the Vostok Amphibian Scuba Dude from the Panda Research Institute. Peter Von Panda. Out.